This one's messed up.
Yeah, it is messed up. All right. Welcome, everybody who's going to come in and see our Cracking Cases episode about Aileen Wournos, female serial killer. There's just not many of them. No strong female serial killer role models out there, I guess. Kevin, get in this game.
Yeah, give me one second. Somebody's trying to get a hold of me. Give me 1 second. Cool. Okay. I had to check something.
No worries.
But yeah, so Aileen.
Do that now.
Yeah,
Poor
Aileen Wournos. Okay, so she was born in 1956, so 6 years after my mom. And life sucked for her. Her childhood really sucked. And, I hate having to, kind of generate sympathy for murderers, but at the same time, it's hard to not get messed up with a childhood that she experienced. So,
we got a lot. Charlie Manson, I won't say most, but a pretty nice handful of serial killers have messed up childhoods.
Mm-hmm.
Not, but a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And that always makes it a little bit complicated because then you find yourself in the awkward position of, I'm kind of sympathizing here.
Yeah.
And then you remind yourself of, let's not, because they did some pretty terrible things.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, with her, her father is dead before she's even born.
Right.
Her mother writes her off to her grandparents. Her grandfather, abuses her and lets his friends abuse her.
Yeah. Yeah, his grandparents were both alcoholics. Her mom just, pieced out when she was only 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And, just a devastating childhood. And then she ended up I think a teen mom she was at 14. She became a mom, but then she gave up the baby for adoption. Thank the powers, unless she probably would have been a terrible mother.
Well, and to kind of add insult to injury on that, the father was a friend of her grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, she ended up at a house for unwed mothers, has the baby, comes back, the grandfather basically says, nah, and drops him off in the woods in Michigan. No, go fend for yourself. This is after she's already, utilizing sexual favors for things at 11.
At age 11, which is so scary because, my baby daughter's 11. She's turning 12 this month, and I can't imagine that. She's such a pure and sweet, innocent little soul, and that's just horrible. It's horrible for a child.
She's just like her mother, right?
Exactly.
So,
no, I always tell her she's so much, she's got her life so much more put together than I did at that age. I was such a little terror at that age.
I'm 20 years older. Are we supposed to have our lives put together? Because I think I'm behind.
Yeah. So, but it's just terrible. She had so much happen to her, and she was living in the woods and prostituting to make money, I guess, for food and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is just wild.
I'm finally in the game.
Yay, thank goodness. I suck at Heads Up. I need your help at defeating Fuzzy. Yeah. I want to get really good at Heads Up, though, just so that I can challenge people. If somebody's, rude to me at the table, I'll be like, Heads Up for rolls, and then just be like, what? And, be awesome at Heads Up. It would be amazing, but since it's so hard to find, sites that do Heads Up and stuff, it's just, I can't do it now, because it's not a good investment of time and money to learn.
I love Heads Up, but I'm garbage at it. I just really like it.
Yeah, Heads Up is super fun. It is super fun.
It's definitely different.
I've lost so much money playing Heads Up just because I was bored. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, heads up poker is the most exciting to watch, and it's so cool. I feel like there are very few problems in life that can't be solved by just playing heads up for rolls, you know? Like, have a problem with a human? Heads up for rolls, you know? Like, let's go.
I think you need to present that to the UN.
Exactly.
As a viable, solution.
When I was a little kid, I could not for the life of me understand why like countries didn't just play chess to settle their differences,
Awesome.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what I thought. I was like, why do people have to die and there has to be wars and stuff? Why couldn't they just like get Russia's best chess player and Ukraine's best chess player and like settle it out, like. And now that's how I feel about Heads Up. I'm like, everybody should learn how to play No Limit Texas Hold'em, and then
Absolutely.
Destroyed.
Ooh.
Oh.
Right, Aileen.
Right, back to Aileen Wournos. Okay, so
Eileen's freezing in Michigan. She adopted her son out. I don't know. I haven't looked into sort of how he ended up, if anybody even knows.
Yeah.
I
was just thinking about that.
She decided to go to Florida because Michigan sucks. 18 cents? Man.
I didn't have time to rebuy.
Maybe people gotta be like that now. A check. Be nice.
Alright, I'll see bet. I could totally have the king. So somebody was asking, is this real money? No, not today. Normally I play for real money on this channel, but we're playing for play money because we're talking about a female serial killer, and that's a very mentally taxing task already. All right.
Welcome to poker versus true crime.
Exactly. Poker and true crime. That's what this is all about. And what I was talking to Kevin about with right before this is that Aileen Wournos didn't kill her first victim until she was 33. And he was like, that's just a little bit older than me. I was like, see, there's still time, like.
Get it in now.
Get it in. Do it.
And it gets kind of what we were touching on earlier. This is where it gets complicated.
Yeah.
So her first victim actually was a rapist.
Rude.
And
what?
Wow. Glad I got out of that one.
I'm trying to rebuy like 4 times, but I don't have enough time.
But yeah, so, you could make the argument, and I think the film Monster kind of portrays this a little bit like we should feel bad. She was justified. She was a crusader, a vigilante. The problem is, it wasn't all that. Yeah, it wasn't always the case, and it got really, people have kind of painted her, like a martyr in that sense.
Really? King's the king queen?
Yeah.
Again?
Oh, no.
Second time?
King's your king
Am
queen.
I supposed to feel bad?
You the last time, too. That's right.
Well, yeah.
I thought it was Doc the first time. No, it was you.
Anyway, yeah, so, it's interesting. I watched Aileen Wournos' last interview right before she was put to death. Essentially, she was, like, on some documentary, I guess.
Yes.
And I didn't see the whole documentary, but I watched her final interview. And she was kind of implying that the police knew about her and were just letting her keep killing like she was some kind of superhero. like she was prostitute Batman, like cleaning the streets up from all these like nasty people, because she exclusively killed customers she was a prostitute and she was killing her customers. And at first she said it was because they were sexually assaulting her and it was all self-defense. And then later she changed her story to say that it was, the first one was self-defense, but then the rest she just went like beast mode on them, just in cold blood. And,
well, yeah. And the, was something telling about her when she was on death row, and because of course it takes forever.
Yeah.
Right? And she finally petitioned the court to be like, could we just hurry this up? And her lawyer's trying to tell the court, like, look, she's not in her right mind. Let's not, because she had said some questionable things, but she made a statement to the court saying, look, I'm sane, I'm of my right mind. You've seen me, I've talked through all this, and I hate people.
Here we go.
And if I had to do again, I would.
Yeah.
And so any sympathy kind of goes, eh.
But if you watch her last interview, she does have like a lot of paranoid thoughts and stuff like that. She was saying,
it's not healthy.
No, and she had sailed through the psych exams the day before that last interview. And so the interviewer makes a comment at the end saying, one has to wonder what you've got to do to fail, because in the last interview, she rambles about how there's these like machines that are secretly installed in her cell that are causing like pressure waves to influence her brain and stuff. And that definitely sounds a lot like paranoia and psychosis that could go along with trauma, but also it has to be said that her biological father, had schizophrenia, and he ended up like dying in jail by suicide when she was a baby.
Do it again, guys.
Finally, you got the good hand.
I've got the wash with Ace Jack Index Queen.
Oh.
And was it, did I read that her father was a convicted sex offender?
Yeah, he had abused a 7-year-old girl, I think. Yeah, he was convicted of that, and that's why he was in the slammer, I guess.
And it does make you wonder a little bit about any kind of genetic ties, kind of similar along the lines of what they've discovered with a good number of serial killers and traumatic head injuries early on in life.
Yeah.
So you do kind of wonder. I don't know how much has been researched about any of that. I should know. I have books.
Well, I have schizophrenia, so I do know that there's like a huge genetic component. I really just don't want to bluff this 4-liner. Whatever. Fine. See? You knew you were going to catch that bluff like that. You're going to snap it right off.
I shoved back because I was like, this just keeps getting worse.
Good call. So like, yeah, I mean, I have schizophrenia, so I know there's a huge genetic component, and they're not sure what chances children have of developing schizophrenia if there's one parent, but it's probably somewhere around 10% chance. So
yeah, that's what I had read. I mean, my two eldest, their dad has schizophrenia, so that was one of those things I read up on.
Yeah, I know. My poor kids, they've got like the worst genetic lottery. I'm just like, yeah, I got breast cancer young, and I have schizophrenia, and I have this genetic kidney disease. You've got a 50% chance of getting it. Good luck. Yeah, got a grab bag of genetic issues.
Nice call.
Bluff, catch, bluff, catch, bluff, catch.
To be fair, that's a pretty strong hand on that board.
Yeah. The best kind of bluff catchers. Yeah, so Aileen Wournos definitely had the deck stacked against her with regards to genetics. And then, nature and nurture, because she didn't get no nurturing when she was being raised. That's for sure. The one weird ray of light she had in her life was her girlfriend. She had this, like, super deep love for a woman who is named Tyria Moore. And apparently they were kind of running from the law and hanging out together in the days leading up to Aileen Wournos' arrest. But I do believe that Moore actually turned her in. or at least assisted the
police. She
was
instrumental in it. She was very instrumental in it because she, I think the heat kind of came down. She left and was basically immediately apprehended upon, I believe, going back to her parents' house. I'm not 100% sure. And at that point, she just immediately was like, "Yep, I'll talk. Sure."
Yeah.
And the police would get her to get on the phone to Aileen, pretending that she was worried and there was going to be court cases. So let's go through each and every detail of all of these murders and how did it happen, because I'm afraid they're going to blame me.
Mm-hmm.
And she did, and they gathered all of this evidence from these phone conversations. She sold her so fast.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And Wournos insisted that she still loved her, like, even right before her execution, so I guess...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. At least she knew love.
There are exactly 2 people I would consider going to prison for. My brother and my sister, and I only said consider. I didn't say I'd actually do it. Going to prison for.
Fair, yeah.
Oh, man.
But yeah.
You're such a good brother, though. That's really sweet.
It is good to consider.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, so I think Eileen's victim count, it was either...
I think it was 7.
7.
It was
7
7.
dudes
Okay,
in like 1 year. So she was a serial killer, but this was just all in 1 year, essentially, where she was killing them all. And, I mean, that's really what helped convict her, is because people just couldn't believe her argument that it was self-defense. They were like, really? Do prostitutes get assaulted 7 times in a year? But I don't know. Maybe they do. It sounds like a pretty dangerous job.
You got a flush draw, don't you?
Oh. Yeah, she did.
Of course I do, and I got it.
God damn it.
Oh! Brutal.
I knew you check right if you had a flush draw, because that's the hand you would check right there. Like,
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Exactly.
Look, I'm also not playing in my right mind.
That's true.
I am incapacitated, and yeah, I might make rogue moves that you never saw coming.
This is the best time to play poker, honestly.
Check raising a jack high flush draw on the flop is actually fairly standard there.
What I'm saying is, it might not have been.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you got these. I mean, and you can even accept maybe the first one.
Yeah.
Maybe the first one.
And later she did say in her story that it was the first one. So the first one was, who was the first victim? The first victim was Richard Charles Mallory, a 51-year-old electronics store owner. And Wournos claimed that he beat and raped her and sodomized her after driving her to like a spooky abandoned area to do so, which I assume people always drive prostitutes to spooky abandoned areas.
Like you do.
As you do. And it apparently this guy Mallory had been convicted for attempted rape previously. So that story may very well have been true.
Story, yeah.
And maybe, you know, if we're going to be charitable to Aileen Wournos, maybe even if the others did not assault her, she was experiencing PTSD from this incident, because it sounds like it was probably pretty scary.
Oh, you had the. I had Ace King with the King of Hearts, and you had the flush. That was.
Nice.
I tried to represent the flush.
You could never see the ace coming. It's August.
Don't try and represent the nuts to the person that actually has the nuts. That's not a good.
The trick is knowing that they have the nuts, though. So, okay, anyway.
So Aileen Wournos shot all her victims. Like I thought for a minute that she had stabbed her victims, but it turns out she shot them all. And I guess it makes sense to carry a gun if you're gonna be a prostitute that lives in the woods.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
Nah.
Oh, I'm so excited. I just got a message from my coach. I'm going to get some coaching tomorrow. I'm so excited.
Nice!
Yes, I'm so excited to get some poker coaching, finally. I haven't paid for a coaching session in a while. I've got a lot to work on, so I'm super pumped about it. Very excited.
Nice. Yeah, good luck with that. That's what Joseph, who is having a day off today from everything, so that's why he's not here. But that's what he started coaching a couple weeks back. So
that's so cool. So what is he working on, tournaments, because he's such a crusher on those?
I think the main focus is tournament for sure. I mean, a little bit of cash, but tournament is definitely more, I think, something he's interested in.
Yeah.
I think he wants to get into mixed games eventually.
Oh, cool. So his goal is to be one of those mixed games crushers. You know, I met the Brandon Oscillator, you know that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I met him when I went to Vegas, which was really fun. He's such a cool dude. And yeah, that's what he does. He goes to like private mixed games and just chops it up, and that's his income. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know. God damn it, I forget his name now. I don't know him, but I know people who know him.
Yeah. And yeah, he's such a cool guy. Like, it was one of those things, like, I swear, poker players bond by, like, trauma dumping, you know? So last summer when I went to Vegas, I just met up with all these poker players, and we just, like, mutually trauma dumped about things, and, like, he had just been through a breakup and was, like, finding himself through martial arts at the time, and I was like, oh my god, I remember when martial arts was my life, and it was really cool to talk and bond with him. He's a really awesome guy.
Yeah, I mean, we're mutual friends on Twitter, but that's about it.
Yeah.
we had like one brief message conversation about something that happened to a hiker that he happened to know, and that was the stint of it. And I'm just like, it's a weird way to get to know somebody. But all right, I like your plants.
Yeah. I had the same experience with Jamie Kerstetter, you know? Like,
yeah.
She's so easy to just be friends with, because it was the same sort of thing. Like, we met at like a cabana party at the Encore Beach Club, and she just immediately started like trauma dumping about dating, and then I started trauma dumping about dating, and then we were like, let's hang out, and then I went to her house later, and like we played Mafia.
I don't see how you could both trauma dump about dating when neither of you have ever dated me, so not bad of a trauma dump.
Is that traumatic?
That's my ex-girlfriend. The answer's probably yes.
I was gonna say, like, we gotta ask your ex about that. But back to the topic. Aileen Wournos. Definitely traumatic if any of her dates had survived. I mean, I guess some of these dates must have survived. She can't have just had 7 customers in a year.
It's true.
So there was probably a great deal of them that got away. But yeah. So when she got arrested, and this was after she kind of got sold out by the love of her life, and she mentioned that she was like sloppy in her interview, and it's true, you know, she did the classic stuff of like, you know, dumping the belongings of her murdered people in local pawn shops and stuff.
Well, I mean, fingerprints all over the car, and it's like, come on.
Yeah.
At least just gloves.
Yeah.
The bare minimum.
Yeah, she just did a lot of not trying to hide it. And honestly, she had already had like 6 suicide attempts by this time, so she could be one of those people who wanted to be caught. And certainly towards the end, she was actively fighting against the idea of not being on death row. She wanted to peace out. She was not happy with life here on planet Earth.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Understandably.
Oh, I don't like what you just did.
I don't like what I just did, if that helps.
He's got like the 3 clubs.
Let's roll. Let's rumble.
Oh, 3 and a 6. Oh.
Good hand.
Like half hand red there. Fantastic.
Actually, this gives me a relevant topic from which to mention my admiration for Canadian sex work laws. Because had we in America approached sex work in a similar way to the Canadians, at least to the way they do present day,
yeah,
many of her murders may not have happened.
Yeah, one thing, I moved back to Canada relatively recently, about 6 years ago, and there's a lot of sort of cultural differences to the way we treat certain things here in Canada that are very different from my experience in the U.S. when I was there married to my ex. And there's 2 things that are really very noticeable. One is the attitudes towards sex work. In Canada, it's not, we don't see the sex workers as the enemy. We see them as vulnerable people that need to be protected and helped. And the other thing that is a huge difference is the way that addiction is viewed and addicts. Not to say that we're solving the problem any better at all. We have a horrible opioid crisis in my area specifically right now. It's so bad that, people are dying in huge droves. Like, it's record numbers, right. Like way above COVID. But I think that the attitudes are definitely a little better. Like, we do see addiction in a disease framework. I think there's limits to that, though, because we still definitely treat the homeless really terribly. I think Aileen Wournos would not have done any better in Canada, because she still would have been downtrodden in society. And
yeah, my only point was that she may not have had a steady access to victims had the whole thing been more above board than it is in America.
Very true. Yeah, she wouldn't have had the steady access to victims, and she might have had access to treatment for some of her problems too. Not that she would have taken people up on that. She was basically feral. She probably wouldn't have trusted the whole idea of treatment and a therapist and stuff like that. But it would have been available to her, which one could argue is important.
Access is better than no access.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know. It's a toughie. I mean, and again, when you have somebody, even though there were several points in her life where she was absolutely a victim, she also, going on record saying, I hate people. I'd kill them again. I'm done. I don't care. Yeah. And to have a kind of nihilistic, like, okay, yeah, we might have found a way. Yeah. And it does come back to that whole sort of nature-nurture thing where did she really have a chance? Yeah, exactly.
I don't think she could picture a life that would be normal in any sense of the word, even if she... I accessed victim services for free here in Canada because I had abuse in my history, and I can't imagine her going into those sessions with any kind of optimism. I went into them with, like a lot of optimism, being like, okay, I don't know how to trust humans. Help me know which humans are the good humans and which humans are the bad humans.
Right.
And my therapist is like, it doesn't work like that. Good luck, but we can help with it. We can work on some other things. And so it was really great to do all that therapy and all that work, because I had a lot of like maladaptive coping mechanisms of my own, not murder, but but
right,
still bad. And
it was on the board. I thought I'd make this straight with a 4. It was on the board. God damn it!
Oh.
I would have been larger to get you off the shelf, and I realized that it was on the board.
And so here we are.
I think it's worth saying that Aileen Wournos also didn't just start up and murdering people at 33. She had a long kind of rap sheet leading up to that, where she had all kinds of crazy situations with assault and like other violence like that, and drunk driving.
So much drunk driving.
So much drunk driving.
That was one of the interesting things. So she had a brother, and he ended up dying of an illness. I don't remember.
Esophageal cancer.
That's it.
The cancer survivor always pays attention to all the cancer.
That's fair.
My uncle died of esophageal cancer last year. It's a bitch.
Oh, wow.
It sucks a lot. Like, head radiation treatment is, like, the worst. It's the worst radiation treatment. It's so horrible.
Yeah, that's raw. So, he dies of that and left her $10,000, which was at the point, at that point, it's pretty significant money.
That was, like, in the 70s, the early 70s, so that was a lot of money.
Man.
So she buys herself a luxury car and immediately crashes it in a DUI and blows through the rest of it. I mean, she had some opportunities to kind of turn things around, and that's part of the reason why I hesitate, because you do still have people who kind of paint her in this sort of feminist light of like, this is what she was doing and she was really feminine, and I'm just like,
yeah,
no.
I know, like, I mean, it's tempting to paint this as like a Thelma and Louise story with her like weird girlfriend, and like she's like prostitute Batman, like killing those people, but yeah, so it's crazy. Yeah, she did. For as difficult, obviously, as things were for her and her upbringing, there were moments where she could have I hate
out.
that. What? Fine. Take my chip. Take it. Don't spend it all in one place.
How old are you? 50 to 1, baby.
Like, I can't not call. That's ridiculous. What a troll.
Just to make you laugh.
I want to see you do that in live poker.
See, now there would be an interesting experiment. I'd love to see this happen in live poker, but we still have to be talking about the topic.
About murder, yes. Yes. That would be phenomenal. I'm interested.
It's gotta happen. You guys have to come down to Vegas. We'll find a good, relatively quiet room where they're friendly. And
That's
like,
right.
Look, we just need the space. We're gonna do some filming.
We gotta talk about murder and play cards, okay? Please don't be frightened.
I know a guy who knows a guy. I could probably set that up.
Nice. I like it.
We could play it at our home table, and that would work too. But doing it in a casino just seems to have that extra gravitas,
It does.
That would be cool.
I'm gonna sit out. I gotta use the washroom. I'll be right back.
All right, then let's rumble. Now's the time. Now's not the time. Now's a terrible time. There's nothing there. There was nothing there for me. You had more than I did, whatever.
I had to pay it, technically.
True. Alright. There was no need to raise there. I'm just saying. There's no, I don't care if it's just 2 cents. Oh, no, I can't. It won't click you the fold. Jack, don't flash your jack at me.
At least I'm not jacking at you.
That's true. That's another conversation entirely.
I couldn't resist that joke. It was too easy.
Fair.
Back.
Woo. You're missing like quality hands here. This is wrought with drama.
Check.
Yes. Not even worth it.
69, baby. 69.
Apparently, Moore, her girlfriend, Tyria Moore, was also kind of a piece of work, and they at one point they got like detained together for having some kind of like bar fight assault with a beer bottle or something like that.
Of course they did.
Of course they did.
Do we know where she ended up?
I don't know where she ended up. I wonder if, like, she's still out there. Like, she's a grandma now.
Because I heard I caught part of a recent documentary a couple of months ago that my sister was watching, and if I'm not mistaken, she is still around.
Now it's time to find out if I can get out a full screen. There we go. Let's find
out. Let's find Tyria Moore. What's she up to? That's gotta be crazy. She's still trolling the bars, the gay bars down in Daytona for murderers.
Tyria Moore. There she is.
This is a ballsy bluff, if it's a bluff. I don't know.
Here we are. Where is her girlfriend now?
Oh, love it. Where is Tyria Moore now?
I probably should have bet larger there.
Yeah.
I realized that later. Oh, okay, what a bluff. Never mind me.
Okay.
Queen high, so, you know.
Oh, well, there you go. Okay, so taking a look here. So they met around 1986.
Mm-hmm.
Aileen was 30. Tyria was 24. Bar hopping in Florida. They just became quickly inseparable.
Mm-hmm.
Started living together. Often slept in friends' apartments, motel rooms, even the woods. They lived off Eileen's earnings as a prostitute. Eventually, Aileen started referring to Tyria as her wife. And they also went through some rough patches. Tyria...
Yeah, that's not good. Oh.
Ooh. Tyria claims that she was trying to get Aileen to not prostitute.
Which is crazy because Aileen was like the breadwinner, like.
Well, right. So what are you gonna do?
You're right. I know. Like Tyria, you're gonna have to learn to work at Walmart.
Right. And then so I think the first one, Aileen told her about Richard Mallory. And then, Tyria says she would have to give her up to the police. Don't tell me any more details, all this kind of stuff. But after Aileen made a habit of bringing back things that weren't hers, she was definitely sort of accessory. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. At that point. They started selling off, like you said, the stuff to the pawn shops and all that. Okay, so the police tracked them down. Thank you, pawn shops. Because we're being idiots.
Yeah.
They eventually arrested Aileen at a biker bar. Oh, I've got nothing now. Now, they didn't have much evidence at that point, the police were forced to rely on their ability to extract a confession from Aileen.
Which is always questionable.
Yeah.
Right. And then when all else failed, they resorted to using Tyria with those phone calls to get her to divulge all these details and stuff. Tyria is known to be guarded about her reputation and public image. She has retreated from the limelight, living life as a private citizen. According to certain sources, she's presumed to be living in Pennsylvania with her family. So she just dropped out completely. Just, don't want anything to do with anybody anymore. Because, she testified against Aileen, and Aileen was finally, I'm trying to multitask, finally convicted, sentenced to death for her crimes, and executed on October 9th, 2002.
Wow. It feels so recent, but maybe I'm just old.
Yeah. It feels recent. Yeah. I accept that. It does.
Yeah.
An interesting thing to note here in Canada, she would just about be up for parole.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Fun fact for those of you who don't know who are listening, Canada, we don't execute our prisoners, and in fact, we don't even have an extradition policy with the United States because they execute prisoners. Even when it's like blue collar crime, white collar crime, like that's never gonna end up in an execution. We just don't do it. Yeah. Another big cultural difference in Canada is that the prison system is very much focused on rehabilitative aspect, which is cool in one sense, but it can sometimes be jarring when you see.
Bite them occasionally.
Yeah, definitely, because horrible people who have done awful things get released. And then the public is always like, what's up with that? That sucks. Don't do that. But it's like, no, this is how our prison system works. Like, it would focus on rehabilitation. So.
Silly.
Yeah. So that means scary people get released sometimes because they get a chance, and that bites us in the butt sometimes, for sure.
Worth ultimately noting, I forget the girl's name now, but because the maximum juvenile sentence is a decade, and they, upon release, get a name change and shielded identity, this was probably 20 years ago now, or close to it, but there was a 13-year-old in Medicine Hat, Alberta, that was convicted of killing her entire family in a triple murder with her 21 and 23-year-old boyfriend, and I say that with air quotes because...
Well, right.
And she actually did do the maximum of 10 years and was released with a new name. So it gets even weirder when it comes to juvenile justice.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying don't release her. It's just it's very jarring to hear she did a decade and gets to live anonymously. Like, it's weird.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so everything I'm reading saying Tyria just went completely reclusive after this. Never visited Aileen in prison.
Aw, that's kind of heartbreaking.
Well, I mean, after you're sitting on the stand and saying, yeah, none of that was even self-defense, which is what she said. She said, no, she claimed this.
I'm only calling this because it's you. Oh, dang.
I had to pay that time.
Nah, I should never call the rays on the river. Never should.
I would like it to be known that as bad as I am at poker, I usually don't play this many hands, but it's you guys. So
yeah, exactly. That's why I'm like, I would never make this raise call, but I don't know. After the donk on the flop.
No, I believe, what is it, there's the place in Chicago clothing called Nitty Kitty, and they have these great shirts, and I want a Nitty Kitty t-shirt because I just feel it in my bones.
That's awesome. I love it. It's so funny. Last time I was at the casino, I was like hanging out on Thursday, and this guy at the table next to me like stood up and he was like, "This is a knit table. It's knit city. You're a knit and you're a knit and you're a knit." And this was like right after the guy next to me, like I had been card dead for a while, and so the guy next to me, who was an old guy, was like, "You only play aces and kings, huh?" And of course I was just I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, sir," you know. And so then that guy was like, "You're in it, and you're in it." And so I was like, I pulled my hat down. I was like, "Don't let him see me."
Yeah. The funny thing is, they think you're a lit.
I know.
I've seen how you play it. I've seen how you study it. They could not be.
I know. It's so funny. Like I had a home game yesterday, and there's this friend of mine, and like a few home games ago, she saw a few showdowns, and she's like, "Okay, now I know how you play. I know you only play good hands." And I was like, "That's right. I never bluff. And then I tweeted about it because everybody who like knows me in the poker world is like, "Oh my God, she will like triple off with like nothing." Oh, but yeah, it's fun.
This is my hope to spin it up.
Dang. Woo. Woo. Better reload.
I blame the surgery. I blame the ibuprofen fog.
I think that's an accurate thing to blame. Like, honestly, playing in pain is super freaking hard. Doing anything in pain is super hard. Oh. But yeah, I think that Wournos' last words were really interesting too.
Yeah.
Yeah, where she was just like, "Thanks, society, for railroading my ass." And then she was like, "I'm out, peace," you know? Because she just really blamed everyone but herself for the actions that she took.
Which, you know, and you learn this in therapy too, like up to a point there's a level.
Yeah.
And you acknowledge it, and then you move on.
Yeah.
You acknowledge, all right, now I need to do the work.
Yeah.
Because I can't live blaming other people for my entire life. And that's, yeah, she never got that memo.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no personal accountability there. She's probably one of those genuine psychopaths, which psychopathy is kind of hard to understand because it's more of a criminal designation than an actual mental health diagnostic tool of any sort.
Mm-hmm.
But she certainly fit all the parameters.
Oh yeah, for sure. And yeah, it's unfortunate. You do kind of wonder
what would her life have been like, you know?
Yeah.
I'm stepping out because I have to go to the bathroom.
No worries. Yeah, you know, just like another sort of segue. Like, have you read the book Freakonomics?
Mm-mm.
So Freakonomics is all about kind of sociological data surrounding different economic things. And one of the chapters that really struck me was the chapter on abortion and how abortion actually helps not produce people like Aileen Wournos, right? Because obviously Aileen Wournos was not a wanted and loved child. And the people in her life were not at all prepared to give her the things necessary for her to thrive.
And that makes sense. Yeah. That's actually, I think, a really strong argument for it.
Absolutely. And in Freakonomics, they kind of drive the point home with actual data, pointing out that in areas where abortions are restricted, there's way more crime because there's this whole generation and more of unwanted children that end up, you know, turning to a life of crime.
Mm-hmm. And Yeah, and so, people get kind of wrapped up in the moral quandary of it. But especially, I'll talk from the U.S. side where they're constantly debating, and it's like, okay, you guys want all these babies to be born.
Right.
And it is a policy of, as soon as they are,
there's no supports in place.
Support so difficult to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
You put all of these barriers in place to make it as difficult as possible for people to get meaningful support. So then, these kids are raised under stressful circumstances, and it's a disaster from there on out. When you have parents that are just doing everything they can to even put food on the table, oh, well, it's the parents' fault that their kids are out of control. Like, what would you like them to do?
Yeah. And I noticed that abortion access in the U.S. is limited within states that have the highest incidences of poverty, and all of the things that are associated with that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it sucks because there's people who maybe they already have kids, and then another mouth to feed is just too much, and then the kid has to find a sense of family in a gang or something,
Well, and they, they'll go and they'll blame the parents and all this kind of stuff, but there's also just such, cultural impetus to have children, to do this, to do that, and it's kind of a no matter what you do, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, go Nevada.
Yeah.
They hold on to their abortion rights, the fact that they ratified it into law, and the people did.
Wow.
Just kind of impresses me.
That is impressive.
There's, obviously it's a big political season now, and I'm already over it.
One thing that the U.S. is known for is their super protracted election cycles.
Oh my God, I'm so tired of it, and I think it's constructed to make you tired of it, so that by the time you're voting, you just don't care. You just want it to be over.
Yeah.
I like, was it France's approach to it, where they're not allowed to put up all these different ads. And they get, one debate.
Yeah.
And, be done with it. You're good. You're cool.
Yeah, for sure.
But, we've got a gubernatorial candidate right now that, at least according to the ads, wants to roll back the whole abortion thing. And I'm like, you know what? I don't think that's the hill you want to die on when the people themselves voted it in.
For sure. When do you think the whole presidential election cycle is going to start? Because I feel like that's going to be long and ridiculous.
It is. It's going to be terrible. And no,
here in Canadian news, like, we're so sick of just having to follow American politics, you know? And it's like...
That's fair.
You can see there's a big hard limit on how much, like, American politics we can follow in our Canadian news. So it's almost like grudging when we have to bring up, like, oh, Trump's in trouble again. Just as a side note.
Right. No,
I'm trying to get a graduate degree so I can move to Canada so I can escape the American politics. So
well, I have bad news for you. So much of our political landscape depends on the U.S. landscape because of our economy being so directly linked.
Oh.
And then there's just like monkey see, monkey do with the conservatives here, I swear.
Uh-huh.
So
see, this is where private island life, I think, appeals a lot more to me, because we were even talking about Canada, and then we started looking really hard at it, like, oh, I don't know.
It's still awesome to live here. Don't get me wrong, it's amazing to live here. It's phenomenal. I highly recommend but you're definitely not going to escape American politics entirely. I do put myself limits, though, because my kids, my ex-husband is in the U.S., so whenever they're down south, I ban myself from reading U.S. news sites, I can still read...
That's a good idea.
I can still read U.S. news, like, on Canadian sites, because they only cover, like, the big kind of overarching political things. But, like, if I read U.S. news, it just scares me too much, because I'm like, oh my god, there's shootings, and I get so freaked out.
Yeah, don't even get me started on that. It's become so sort of absurdly commonplace where now we're kind of inured to it. Like, oh yeah, there was another one.
We should, we should definitely do an episode just specifically on school shootings, maybe, because it's just such a huge cultural thing. And there's, we were talking today about a female serial killer, and there's like a female school shooter was, I guess, one of the first big ones in the U.S. in the 70s.
Brenda Spencer.
Yeah? Is that who that was?
In San Diego, I believe.
Yeah, San Diego, that sounds right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
1973, I think?
Yeah, crazy. It's crazy to think of. And she was kind of had the same kind of vibe as Aileen Wournos, where she was just like, I just had a bad Monday. Like, I hate humans. Like.
She fired shots with a .22 rifle that had just been given to her for her birthday into, I believe it was Cleveland Elementary School. And the quote comes from the fact that a reporter got her on the phone as she was shooting from said bedroom window, and when asked why she was doing it, she said, I hate Mondays.
Yeah! Crazy.
She quoted Garfield, basically.
Yeah.
What she did.
She was like, I did the Garfield thing, except instead of binging on lasagna, I killed a bunch of people.
That's
a bunch of kids, mind you.
Yeah, children.
Right.
And I think, we can't overlook the fact that Aileen Wournos' violence was all gun violence, and it looks like it was performed with different weapons, because I know there was a .22 cited in one of them, and then another gun was cited in another one.
But I call.
I like that attitude. Oh! Dang, bluffing with the fire. All right, Survival Amazon True Crime Chat. Let's go. Absolutely. That's what we're all about here. We're doing True Crime Chat. Yes, and next episode is going to be Gacy. Thanks for the follow. Thanks for the follow. Before we end Aileen Wournos, though, I think we need to debate, like, should she really be called a serial killer? I don't know. Like,
I was actually just thinking about this earlier because we were looking up female serial killers, Florida. Was she the first to be executed? And she wasn't. And the first one, now I'm blanking out on her name, but yeah, more than 3 dead. There were 3.
Yeah, 7 total.
It was her, this woman. It was her husband, and then her son, and then her boyfriend later on. And they qualified her as a serial killer. So, yeah, more than 3 dead. It's kind of, I don't know. I feel like they need to expand that a little bit, because it's a little, like,
Technically speaking, according to most definitions, it's 3 or more dead with a cooling off period between incidents.
Yeah.
So she definitely qualifies.
I guess,
yeah.
Just culturally, when I think of serial killer, I think of somebody who hunts down their victims and, of a certain profile. Of course, she didn't have to hunt. She lured, essentially, by being a sex worker. But,
it's entrapment, kind of.
Yeah, entrapment. But, I mean, her argument, at least at some points during her defense, was this self-defense thing, or just the idea that she kind of went ape when having a sexual experience just because of all of her trauma, and I can kind of see that view, and then it feels different from a lot of the other serial killers that I'm sure we're going to be talking about on this channel, where there are people who spent a lot of time essentially hunting down individuals and targeting them. I feel like for hers were almost a crime of opportunity, I'm going to say, you know?
And you could almost, I mean, you could, in a sense, say that about some of the others as well. You know, one of these days we'll cover, like, Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
You know, instead of, say, Gacy, or, you know, some of them I think are definitely much more purposeful than others.
Yeah.
I don't think Eileen's were necessarily, you know, they weren't purposeful. These guys were in the wrong place at the wrong time. They chose the wrong gal to go hang out with. But just, you know, strictly speaking, yeah, she's still qualified as a serial killer. But you're right. I think it is the idea that we have in our minds. You know, we have the Zodiac killer. We have these sort of mythical, Richard Ramirez, all these guys have that built up in our heads.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, these people who are hunting their prey, and, like, they have a specific type, which, honestly, her victims kind of, they were all a very similar age range, I noticed.
Oh, you had the 8.
Like, they were all, like, 40s and 50s kind of guys. But, you know, it's important.
How old was your grandfather?
Do what?
Pardon?
How old was your grandfather at the time of her abuse?
Oh, at the time of her abuse? She was a child. That would have to be, like, before age 14 that started, probably, because that's when she got pregnant.
Cause... Oh, why am I on this? No. I'll look things up now because I'm not playing well anymore.
You're gonna sit out when you're not playing well? Oh my god, you have, like, such incredible restraint.
No, it's just that the ibuprofen is finally, like, I'll be taking it soon, so now I'm all...
Fair. Yeah, Night Stalker, Survival Amazon's talking about. That's right, Night Stalker was so scary. I like the thing with Richard Ramirez where he essentially got, like, a public beat down. When they just, like, dragged him out of a car and, like, beat him up and were like, this is our bad guy. Yeah.
So, yeah, because early life, because her mother was 14 when she married her father. So, and that was in 54. So her mother was 15 when she gave birth to her older brother Keith. She gave birth to Aileen at 16.
And then she ran out 4 years later, so basically age 18.
Yeah, I'm going to say Grandpa was not that old.
No. Maybe when she was killing people, she was killing her grandpa, you know?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Because they were all around that age group, and... You know, one can assume if she's like other serial killers that they fit a similar appearance profile, like maybe they were the same race or whatever. But, yeah.
Although they may have just been victims of opportunity.
Exactly.
Well, right.
Or she might have just snapped in the moment when she went into, like, a PTSD flashback or something, you know.
So, yeah, I mean, and they do go into her psychopathology a bit. She met the relevant criteria for psychopathic personality, borderline personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder.
Yeah.
And yeah, much of her childhood sexual abuse and career in sex work are said to have irrevocably damaged her. Yeah, so it is just... And she had problems. She had early behavioral problems. She flew off the handle as a kid.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you put all of that together.
You end up with a recipe for just a lovely woman.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure, Z's.
Oh, this is interesting, though. You're talking about I'm on the Wikipedia thing right now, and they're talking about the FBI profiler Robert Ressler, who briefly mentions her in his autobiographical history of 20 years with the FBI. He said that he often doesn't discuss female serial killers because they tend to kill in sprees instead of in a sequential fashion. He noted Wournos is the sole exception. Wrestler who allegedly coined the phrase serial killer to describe murderers seeking personal gratification does not apply it to women killing in postpartum psychosis or to any murderer acting solely for financial gain, such as women who have killed a series of boarders or spouses. So your Black Widows, he doesn't qualify in that, arena.
Which is so interesting because I would have just colloquially thought of them as serial killers for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like, okay.
Yeah. It sounds like serial killers. Look at you checking on the flush completing river. Look at you checking.
I know, you got a queen.
Not only that, baby. Alright. Well, why don't we wrap up since poor Fuzzy probably needs to, get some sleep.
Yeah.
She's, for those of you watching, she's just recovering from surgery. And then our next episode for cracking cases, true crime, and everything else is not going to be next week, but the following week, just due to availability of our participants, including myself. So,
is the
and that's going to be Gacy, right?
John Wayne Gacy.
John Wayne Gacy on the 25th. Let's do it. It's going to be freaking awesome and terrifying. Yeah.
Yes.
It's on my calendar.
And I'm going to go make my Amazon wish list right now so I can petition people to send me happy things because it's depressing.
Yes, for sure.
I will be on my way to Las Vegas, but I'm going to try and join in from my phone. So I may or may not be there on the 25th.
Sounds good. All right.
We'll keep our fingers crossed, and otherwise we'll put out the welcome mat in Vegas for you.
It sounds good. Oh no, the sex! Ah!
Get a little bit back.
Brutal.
Bye, guys.
All right, we're gonna end stream and make sure to follow or subscribe. Touch that heart, touch that star below that stream if you want to see our
Dark
next
is great.
cracking
You really should.
cases.
Tell your friends. Tell your friends' friends.
Yes.
Tell your enemies.
Tell your murder victims.